Welcome to r/RedditRevenge. This is a story of someone getting back at someone with revenge after being wronged. Thank you friends for subscribing. It helps a lot to get 100,000. I really appreciate it. The first story. Friend's coworker harassed friend and made her life a living hell. The second story. Coworker steals my tip. I systematically, yet covertly, antagonize her until she gets herself fired. The third story. I use the door buzzer system to fake people out and pull on a locked door as punishment for ringing the bell too often. The first story is, harass my friend? I hope it was worth your job, your engagement, and over $10,000. Years ago, one of my best friends, we will call her Kate, was working for a business-to-business tech corporation on the West Coast. Kate had a coworker in the same department as her, named Angela. There are too many things for me to list that Angela did wrong, but here's a few notable examples. Angela would show up, without fail, 15 minutes late to every shift. Angela had been passed around between 3 departments already due to not being a good fit in the other ones. Angela would spend her entire shift on social media on her phone. Angela would regularly give people incorrect information on the phone. Angela would regularly paint her toenails while working. One of Angela's duties was to reply to an email inbox from contractors looking to renew warranties on their products. At one time, this inbox had over 670 unread emails in it, all of them from potential paying customers. Angela once had flirt with her boyfriend while she was working overtime. Angela would flirt with every single man who worked for the company. Angela was not very attractive, and many of these men would complain to HR. Angela was seen on multiple occasions making out with employees in the parking lot. Angela would skip out on doing her work all week, causing her to need to stay and collect overtime pay, wherein she would continue to skip out on doing her work. Kate finally ratted on her after the flirt, which led to a very meeting between Angela, the HR director, Angela and Kate's supervisor Kim, and the department VP. Angela was not fired, but was pressured to resign and declined. It should be noted that this company is notorious among its employees for not firing people it should. Their direct supervisor Kim was on to Angela's game though, and would watch her much more closely, so the months. Angela vowed revenge and spent weeks trying to figure out who it was. Angela was a large, tall woman who was physically intimidating and somehow intimidated one of their coworkers into revealing that Kate was the snitch. Angela spent the next week making Kate's life a living hell, verbally harassing her and being overall nasty whenever she saw Kate, gossiping behind her back, etc. It reached a breaking point when Angela shoved Kate while passing her in the hallway one day. HR was notified, and once again Angela somehow made it off scot-free. Knowing that Angela was somehow invincible to HR, many of Kate's coworkers began ostracizing Kate, fearing that Angela would target them as well. Nobody would corroborate Kate's reports of Angela starting rumors or harassing her. Kate quickly went from loving her job to hating it and became depressed during this time. It was at this time that I vowed revenge. Angela had won pretty handily. Knowing that Kim had no teeth because HR wouldn't touch her, Angela went back to not doing any work. She even got engaged and bragged to everyone at the office about her extravagant destination wedding plans. Kate's only positive working relationships at this point were with her supervisor Kim and a few of her coworkers, who would still speak with her when Angela wasn't around. About a month later, Kate unexpectedly received a text from one of her coworkers that still talked to her. It was a screenshot of a text message conversation with the department VP. The VP had revealed that he had been flirting with Angela, and this message had made its way around the gossip mill, back to Kate. Her invincibility to HR suddenly made a lot more sense. I knew I was going to expose her to her fiancé, but decided to wait on it. Angela would continually update the entire office on what she had done for her wedding plans the previous day, which was then relayed to me through Kate, so I waited until she had spent as much of her money as possible. During this time, I even acquired more evidence of her infidelity. The day of reckoning comes about 2 weeks before the big day, and on Friday after work, I make a throwaway Facebook account to send all the proof I have of her cheating to her fiancé. He doesn't reply, but I can see that he had seen it around 6 p.m. The wedding plans were canceled on Facebook that Sunday. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall in their household that evening. Monday rolls around, Angela rolls in about 15 minutes late and immediately demands to speak to HR. A 4-way meeting takes place between Angela, Kim, the HR director, and the department VP, the one she slept with. 10 minutes go by, and Kim and the HR director both leave. 5 minutes later, Angela leaves the office, followed shortly by the department VP, and they both return to their own workspaces. Angela begins working, and 15 minutes later, the department VP arrives with Kim in security. tells Angela to pack her things and turn in her badge, and Angela is escorted out of the building. Angela protested to the VP. The entire way out, he only said 2 words to her: "You're replaceable." I did not find out how this happened until months later, but Kim eventually revealed what transpired to Kate. Angela had racked up tens of thousands in credit card debt, paying for her wedding, and now that her engagement was off, she tried to use her affair with the department VP to blackmail her way into a pay raise. She had told them that she had received offers from other companies that would pay her much more, a lie, and that she would leave if they didn't give her a significant raise, a bluff. When Kim and the HR director left the room, the department VP told Angela that if they got it in writing that she would leave without a raise, he could convince them to give her the raise. He also reassured her that she could take it back during her 2 weeks' notice and maintain her position. Angela took the bait, and the department VP immediately took this formal, in-writing notice of resignation to HR and Kim. Rather than having her complete her 2 weeks' notice, they decided that it wouldn't be necessary, so she could leave that very day. Much of what happened to Angela was her own doing, cheating on her fiancé, sleeping with her boss's boss, overplaying her hand, and attempting to get a raise, while being the worst employee in the department, signing a resignation letter, etc. And while I get the feeling like her house of cards would have fallen on its own eventually, it felt good being the one to push it down. The second story is the time a coworker stole my tip. The coworker in question was a pain in the A, but she was a decent server, and she did her side work, so whatevs. So this girl wanted to leave early one night. She had 1 table left and asked me to take them because they would be camping out for a while. I too had 1 table left that was just finishing up, so I said I'd take them if she didn't cash them out first. I wasn't going to stay on the clock to make $0 extra and clean her section. She threw an absolute fit, but eventually transferred the table. Now, I don't know why she transferred them, because she stayed the whole time they were there. She then walked around the whole restaurant and bar, trashing me to anyone who would listen. When it came time to cash them out, she went to the table and said something to them while I was running their cards and making change. Effing A. I handed them their slips and cashed to the one guy who paid in cash. Someone at the table said, "I don't know what you did to that girl, but she told us not to tip you." I said, I think she's just having a bad night. I thanked them for coming in and wished them a good night. I went to the POS and started entering tips while I waited for them to leave. I was fuming, but the table was happy with me, so I wasn't going to let it get to me. As soon as they left the table, B McBeeface slides into the seat. I was like, "The F?" So I hustled down there, and I can see her looking at the slips. When I get to the table, she's getting up and has $4 cash in her hand. Now, everyone at the table left me a 20%-ish tip, except for the cash guy, who left me nothing, on a $20 check. 20% times $20 is $4. It was at this point that I lost my SH. I asked her if she took money off of my table. I'd like to say I was calm and collected, but I'm sure that I wasn't. She runs screaming to the manager that I accused her of stealing. I explain the whole situation to the manager, who I'm sure will see reason. He opts to check the security footage, but no, the recording wasn't working. So now it's my word versus hers, which should be a slam dunk in my favor. But what can they really do? If they fire her for cause, they need proof, and I didn't actually see her take the money, just holding $4 in her hand as she left my table. Okay, B, you won the battle, but you will lose the war. Now, here comes the really effed up part. My next shift, the regional manager comes in to talk to me about the whole situation. She acknowledges that she believes me, but there's nothing she can do about it. And then she instructs me to apologize to the girl. Huh, fat chance. I agreed to do it, but obviously never did it. Well, it was around that point that I moved to the bar full time. I had several weapons of revenge at my disposal, but the best one in my arsenal by far was that I now knew that she was extremely inflammatory. I could set her off with the smallest of actions, all while keeping my cool and appearing to do nothing. One time I coughed as she walked away from service bar. She thought I called her a name. Instant meltdown. Run screaming to the manager. One time I poured her service bar ticket, but left the last beer sitting under the tap instead of on the service bar. Instant meltdown. Run screaming to the manager. One time I said her name quietly, under my breath, so only she could hear it. Then I pretended like I didn't say anything. Instant meltdown. Run screaming to the manager. The real key was to wait for a night, when she was already in a bad mood, then do it 2 or 3 times in a row, then wait a few weeks to do it again. That way it looked like she was just being a child and taking it out on me, since she already had beef with me. It worked like a charm. She got SH shifts, SH sections, and in turn, SH tips. As her frustrations grew, so did her outbursts. Eventually, she got fired for threatening to have her boyfriend beat me up, within earshot of a manager. Fired on the spot. Check and mate, B. The whole process took about 5 months. Was it petty? Yes. Was it childish and passive-aggressive? Absolutely. Was it all over $4? Yup. Was it satisfying? Oh, it was so satisfying. And the last story is, can't wait 10 seconds for me to answer the door buzzer? Feel my anonymous and mildly annoying vengeance. So, a little bit of context. I work at a job of 75 plus people, where we digitize paper files from companies. Many of these files have confidential info, so my place of work has some extra aspects of security, e.g. no camera-capable devices, lockers to leave phones in and most relevantly, an inner and outer door with camera buzzers. Think Seinfeld's apartment buzzer system with a low-res camera that turns on after you ring the bell. In the room I work, 6 to 8 people work on scanners and computers. The intercom for those doors happens to be in this room. Now, 58% of the time, my boss is the closest to the buzzer, and he lets people in. People coming back from lunch or break or going out to smoke. The rest of the time when my boss is elsewhere in the building, the rest of us grunts share the task of answering the door when it rings. Here is where the problems happen. With the layout of the room, none of us are as close to the intercom as my boss when he's at his desk, so it takes any one of us a teensy bit longer to get to the intercom when it goes off. Now, for most people that work at my job, there are some unspoken rules of etiquette with ringing the doorbell. 1. You ring once and you don't ring again until the light that indicates the camera is on goes off, which means no one heard the bell or saw you on the screen. This takes about 15 seconds. 2. Don't ring the bell for the inner door. It takes a sec to switch to the buzzer to the second door, and if you do, it inexplicably rings 4 times. Like seriously, we know there's 2 doors, we've walked through them too. Did you think we just walk away, and then when you ring the bell for the second bell, we go back? 3. That's really it. Doors aren't that complicated. When these rules are broken, then comes the vicious retribution. Different people will inflict different punishments, like berating them through intercom for being an impatient D, or letting them wait for a while. However, mine is a little more petty. The cameras are the best part of the whole system. When someone rings too quickly, I buzz the door, and right when they reach for the handle, I let go. Simple, effective. Now, depending on how egregious your offense, I might just immediately buzz you in after the first time as a warning. If you wait 2 seconds between rings, you better believe I'm gonna buzz you. Then stop as you reach, wait for you to reach for the bell again, only to buzz you in the second you take your hand off the doorknob, and release it when you try to quickly grab it again. Someone once just kept ringing the bell with literally no waiting in between, and she just wasn't gonna stop until the door opened. Like, is that what you do at people's houses, you monster? I faked her 3 times until she learned to keep her hand on the knob, but even then I did a split-second buzz that didn't even last long enough to release the lock, but did make her pull on the door in vain. I finally gave her a nice, long, almost mocking buzz. It's possible, and she opened the outer door. Then she went for the inner door, and her defenses were down. I let her ring the inner bell, 4 rings BD'd, and faked her out again. God, she was fuming and cursing up a storm. Another mocking buzz and she's in the building. She immediately walked by where the intercom is, even though it's not on the way to her desk. Luckily, I had already gone back to my seat, and she just kept trying to make eye contact with everyone and anyone near the intercom, so she could confront someone. I just tried to look at my computer without laughing. Thank you for listening.